All right. This is another episode of Teed Up. I'm lucky enough to be joined by JP McDade, comedian and golfer. I don't know which one you want to have first.
Honestly, golf is the one thing that's still happening. So
Yeah.
I think we can just go with golf.
Yeah. Have you been playing?
I played 3 times this year. I went down to North Carolina a couple weeks ago. I played for the first time since quarantine hit, for the first time this year, really. And
Yeah.
that's it. I was terrible.
Well, everybody, we're all kind of just bad. If you're not getting paid to do it, you're not good, right? Nobody's good.
Exactly.
So you are a comedian. You live in New York City. How long you been in New York?
I've been in New York for the better part of the last 8 years or so.
And you came from Connecticut, right?
Yeah, from Connecticut. I had a stint where I lived in Connecticut in between, but yeah, I grew up in Connecticut, born on Long Island, and I've been living in New York doing comedy for the last like 7 years.
And golf. Well, you grew up playing golf, right? Has that been a part of your life for a long time?
Pretty much, yeah. I learned how to play probably when I was 7 or 8. My dad was a big golfer, and yeah, I played a lot growing up. I played on my high school team, and then I kind of got away from it. And the last few years, I've gotten way more back into it. I'm like becoming a full blown golf guy.
Yeah, that's what I guess that's what happens when like any other sports kind of like I don't want to play basketball. It hurts my joints.
Right.
You know, golf.
I was just playing basketball to try to be cool in the first place.
Yeah.
I realized I should have just enjoyed golf the whole time.
What was high school golf like in Connecticut?
It's kind of a mixed bag. It was fun. It was pretty awesome. I played all 4 years. We were in the Southwest Conference. I wouldn't say it was like full of powerhouses or anything. There were some good teams. We played 9-hole matches, afternoons after school. It was a spring sport, and then like the bigger tournaments, like state and stuff, were 18 holes. And, a couple of individual things I got to play in, but yeah, it was just it was the kind of thing where kids at the school didn't know we had a golf team, but like all the cool kids played soccer and basketball and football, and we're just like, yeah, we're doing our own thing, taking a bus to the driving range after school. And
did you get out like early for matches? Like, could you leave school pretty early for matches?
Sometimes I got the day off, which was the ultimate prize.
That's the reason to be on the golf team in high school. You don't have to go to class. It's the best
18 holes. Just, you could probably sneak in some tobacco products or other contraband while you're playing, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. And then what do you think? So you took a couple years, like when you first moved to New York. Nobody plays golf really, and you got to be so rich to play golf.
Yeah,
in New York
just
City
to get to a golf course.
Yeah, it's insane. When you are in New York, where do you play?
I used to live in Bay Ridge, and I was near Diker Beach, which is one of the public tracks within the city. Apparently, it's where Earl Woods learned to play golf.
Really?
Which is kind of insane because he was stationed at Fort Hamilton. And I don't know if that's exactly where he learned how to play, but that is what they tell you, at least. And it's one of the busiest golf courses in the country.
That's the other thing. Like a Saturday round at Diker is like, it takes probably, no matter where you are, it's an hour at least to get there.
Yeah.
And it's probably 6 hours to play. So you're like, it's a 10-hour day,
It's your whole day.
Yeah.
I think one time I had an afternoon tea time, like 12:30 or something, and we couldn't finish because of darkness. It's like, forget about it. You got to play at 5 a.m. if you want to get it in. It's honestly, the courses in New York City aren't bad.
Yeah, like Van Cortlandt is out there, Split Rock, Pelham.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't bad.
I was supposed to play Van Cortlandt this Friday. I'll probably play it soon. But it was funny. There was some discussion of on golf Twitter a while back of what state is the best for golf. And I was kind of surprised at first, but a lot of people said New York.
Yeah.
And you could make a pretty strong case. Like,
you could. Especially like the Hamptons. Yeah, you have I mean, I'm drawing Shinnecock. Yeah, Shinnecock.
Bethpage Black, both on Long Island.
Have you been out there? Have you been out to Bethpage?
I have. I played there. I was probably 14 or 15. I was born on Long Island, and around that time, my dad was playing a ton of golf. He would play Bethpage a good amount. The whole sleeping in the car, hanging out with your buddies for
Yeah.
a 5 a.m. tee time, that whole deal. And I played it once. It's pretty awesome. And I actually went there last year to see the PGA. Went to the Friday round.
I think we talked, I think it might have been like an Instagram story about that, but you're a Tiger guy, right?
Huge Tiger guy. Yeah.
Huge Tiger guy, which I don't know how
probably my favorite athlete ever.
Same. I don't know. Like I've been in a lot of arguments lately about like this whole, the MJ documentary has brought a lot of people, everybody's team MJ right now, which I don't hate MJ, but like in terms of being a pro athlete, you can't really argue against Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Pound for pound, sport for sport, considering where they brought their sport to and where it was before they showed up. It's not even close.
Yeah. It's hard to, I mean, he literally reinvented golf and then fell off. And then the people that he inspired to play, like Brooks Koepka will be a third baseman in, the MLB right now.
Exactly.
And now he's beating them. So it's like there's no argument really.
He created a monster capable of his own destruction, and then he beat that monster.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's
just an insane the story arc of one person. I don't think there's ever been anything like it in sports.
Which is crazy that, I mean, I'm sure there will be like a movie or something about him, but it's kind of weird that there hasn't been yet,
It's kind of like, it's going to have to be really good, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when 9/11 happened and then we were all like, oh yeah, they're going to make movies about this, but they better wait like 30 years. And then they came out with some really shitty 9/11 movies like 2 years later.
Yeah.
I feel like that could definitely happen.
Right.
I hope it doesn't.
But it's like, they made a movie about Vince Papale. It's like, how are you going to make a Vince Papale movie? Like, not a Tiger movie. But yeah,
isn't Rocky based on like Chuck Wepner or somebody? Like,
yeah. Rocky, I think Rocky's based on like a bunch of different people. That's how bad, like they needed to take stories from a bunch of different areas
of Frankenstein.
We just don't have one great figure. But that's Philadelphia's own thing. But yeah, have you been to a bunch of PGA Tour events?
I've been to probably 5 in my life.
That's pretty many.
Yeah, I would say it's, in my opinion, obviously because I'm a huge golf guy, but I think it's the best spectator sport. And I'm a big baseball fan. I love the Yankees. Been to a million Yankee games. Love basketball, like football. All these different. I appreciate all these different sports, and seeing anything live is going to be better. But I think in golf, just getting up close, like getting right up on the ropes, getting to follow the players that you want to watch. And actually, you're walking the playing field that they're on. Yeah, and you can play it at other times in many cases.
Yeah,
it's pretty surreal.
And I think people like I love watching golf too on TV, but I think there's a lot. My first time going to like a PGA Tour event, you're like shocked on how different the conditions are and how hard the course. Like people just watching on TV, like I'm sure friends like that aren't into golf that say, doesn't look that hard. They're just out there playing golf. But the difference of like how hard those conditions are and then to see them up close is like mind blowing.
I remember I went to the 2004 Open at Shinnecock, the infamous burned out greens. And you walk across the fairways on like the footpaths, looking at the fairway looked like a fast green. So the green it was like a piece of marble, I guess. Yeah. And then the rough is that high. Any decent golfer, a scratch golfer would go out there and absolutely embarrass themselves.
So that's what I always wonder, like, especially some of the tracks like where I'm from, what like Arnold Palmer, Bethlehem Municipal Golf Course, Arnold Palmer has the course record. It's like a 61. And the story is he like showed up, he didn't have like walk the course or anything. He just shot a 61.
Yeah.
Like, what would these guys shoot on like these normal like muni tracks? It's like probably they're not shooting above 64.
I mean, the course I grew up on was a pretty easy 9-hole course that was usually in decent shape, but not too difficult. And I think the club pro there held the record at 61. And this is a guy who like never even sniffed a professional tour.
Yeah.
These guys are shooting 57.
Right. What's your handicap and what's your like all-time low?
My index right now is 8.1, but it's hard to say because like that was at the end of last year when I was playing much better, and now I'm
Uh-huh.
trash. So we'll figure. My short game is okay because I've been chipping and putting on a 5-foot surface in
There
my
you go.
apartment for all of quarantine. But yeah, I'm like an 8 handicap. I think I was a little bit lower than that in high school. My all-time low score I think is a 73, 3
Oh, wow.
over.
Yeah.
I've gone under par on 9 a couple of times, but that's it. Like usually when I'm in decent form now, I'm shooting low 80s, high 70s.
Yeah. It's the handicap thing. I was trying to explain the handicap thing to like a friend that doesn't golf. He's like trying to get into golf. And he
Yeah,
asked like what my handicap was. And he's like, what is a handicap? And I explained it to him and he brought up a good point. It's like, that's the only sport where that's like taken into consideration, you know?
yeah,
Like,
how good you are.
right. Like if you play pickup
Actually quantified.
basketball, they don't like handicap
Right.
like the game for people. It's kind of, which is kind of interesting, you know?
It takes more words to describe your skill level in basketball than it
Yeah. Yeah.
does
Yeah.
in golf. Like if a guy played D1, there should be a number to like, oh, I'm a
Right.
+5.
Yeah.
I'm
Plus, I
not
was
gonna.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, like you need to, you know, give me like a head start if I'm on a fast break or something like that. You know, it's
right.
like,
You can't block my shots.
um, so yeah, Tiger is obviously something that I mean we've talked about him before. Have you ever got to see him play?
I have. Yeah, I remember. I feel like all except one tournament that I've been to have been tournaments that Tiger was playing in. And
Really?
the first time was last day of 6th grade. My dad pulled me out of school. He's like, "You're not doing shit anyway. We're gonna go see Tiger." It was just like, and this was the summer of 2001, the June of 2001. So he had just completed the Slam,
Yeah,
the height
that's
of
like peak
Tiger
Tiger
mania.
time. That's like
Yeah,
Tiger at the best.
and it was hard to get up close to see him. Like normally, it's no problem at a PGA Tour event to see who you want to see, but
Uh-huh.
you had to get 5 holes ahead of him to get a decent view.
to get a look.
Yeah, I saw him hit a stinger with a 2-iron, and I was like, I must have been 12 years old at the time. And I was like, it was a pretty mind blowing experience.
Yeah. Did you ever have any like aspirations of playing like on PGA Tour or anything?
I definitely did long before I knew how good you actually had to be. Uh, I figured because I was one of the better golfers among my friends that I must have been one of the best players in the country. So he kind of said, "Oh yeah, where are they better than Connecticut at golf?"
Well, what do you? Connecticut golf isn't terrible. I've heard a lot of good stuff about Connecticut golf.
Yeah, there are some good players who come out of here, out of there, and course design is pretty interesting. There are a lot of great courses.
Yeah, that. Well, what's your favorite track like around from where you're from?
I've played. Well, I'm from near Danbury, and Richter Park is in Danbury. That's like
Uh-huh.
probably the best known public course in that area. Pretty highly regarded. It's good. It's a nice design. It's like built around a lake. It looks cool. It's quintessential Connecticut golf, where it's
Yeah.
like all through trees and hills. There are no even lies. It's got a lot of character to it. And then I played a lot at Oxford Greens, which is a newer public course that opened up in Oxford, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Um, and then down on the Gold Coast, you have some places where, well, I've gotten to play Shorehaven a bunch of times, which is a nice private track. My dad's friend is a member there, so we'll play a few times every year. And that's awesome. That's right on the water. But then you have places like Stanwich and a bunch of other like super elite private
Right.
courses in like Greenwich and New Canaan and stuff that
I
couldn't
like in
get
my
on.
mind, Connecticut's probably has like private tracks that like or country clubs that like you can't even like imagine getting on. Like it might not be true, but like
Yeah,
they don't even let you see any of the grounds. There's like trees everywhere. Like that's
I,
what I envision of Connecticut golf.
I remember my cousins were members at a club on Long Island that I played a few times, and like the neighboring club, it's called the Garden City Men's Club. Have you heard of it? It's
No,
like
but it sounds very elite.
women are not allowed on the grounds. If they're gonna drop off their husbands, they can't get out of the car.
That's insane.
It's
To
like,
this day?
yeah, it's like that's got to be illegal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a lot in the tri-state area. I think there are a lot of like super old money, weird
Right.
places like that, very Bushwood-esque.
It's crazy that
Country
they're not
clubs.
being canceled for anything. It's like how is that not on the news?
Yeah,
You know?
well, they own the media companies.
That's right. That's true. That's right. They own all of media.
Yeah.
But so 8 years ago, you moved to New York. What, I'm not going to ask like the douchey, is there a parallel between comedy and golf? But a lot of like comedians do play golf. I think the schedules line up. What got you into comedy then? Was there any kind of like, what is there something about, I find a lot of parallels to it. Like I like just being on my own kind of like, what got you into comedy? Did it have anything to do with things that you liked about golf?
I imagine there are commonalities there that I wasn't even like conscious of, but yeah, they are. The career paths are kind of similar.
Yeah.
Like you're out on your own. No one really sees like the lower level ranks that the professionals go through to get. Like people can only name 2 or 3 golfers. They can only name 2 or 3 comedians.
Exactly.
And they think that's it. They're all multimillionaires.
Yeah.
But they don't know about there are people, living out of their cars to pursue both.
Right.
And the experience as a spectator, I think, is almost similar.
Right.
But what got me into comedy, it was kind of a similar experience where I moved to New York, and that was like really the first time I got to see live comedy like in its native habitat. And I'd always loved comedy. I'd always loved stand up. Growing up, I think more than the average kid, I was into it. And then I started going to like the Cellar and the Knitting Factory and stuff when I moved to the city, and seeing it in person. It's 10 times better than experiencing it like in a digital format or on TV. And it was like, I just had this crazy thought, like, yeah, maybe I could do this for a job. That would be pretty cool if this was my job. And
Did you move to New York before you started doing stand-up?
Right. Yeah, I moved to New York for a banking job that I had for like 5 years or so. And there was like 1 year where I wasn't doing comedy yet. I was living in New York, but I was consuming it. It was weird. I would ask my friends, like, do you want to go to the Comedy Cellar? And they're like, we just went 2 weeks ago. So
yeah.
What's up here?
Yeah, that's funny. And then you decided, I'll start writing stuff and then start hitting the mics.
Yeah. I think I had like 75 Twitter followers at the time, and my friends would they would gas me up and be like, "Oh, your tweets are funny." So I was like, "All right, that sounds like joke writing." So I'll give it a shot. And then I gradually became aware of like open mics going on in the city, and then I just decided to hit one up.
You've had some like success with the roast battle stuff, and you've been on some TV stuff. What is it? When did you start to realize that, this, if you keep pursuing it, you could leave the banking job and like turn it into a career? Like, was that the goal? Obviously it's the goal the whole time, but was that like in your mind, like this could happen? Or what point did you really realize that you could turn this thing that was fun into money?
It was, well, the weird thing is I don't think I ever thought about it as like a fun thing to do. I think from the very beginning, I was like, I want this to be a career.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I usually don't commit to things. I usually just try, like golf, perfect example. I was like, oh yeah, I'll, as a teenager, I'll practice, 2 or 3 times a week, and then I'll be good enough to play on the PGA Tour. But with comedy, it was like, okay, I realized I need to give it like a full commitment. And then I knew just from like podcasts and hearing interviews with comics, like it's just going to take years and years of doing open mics. So I was fully committed to like do open mics for 10 years for no reward and just keep doing it. And then over time, like little things started to accumulate, and little accomplishments here and there started to build. And then after I'd been at the bank for a few years, I found myself like using my vacation time to go do comedy festivals, or sneaking out to go do an audition, or and I was spending most days in my work clothes, leaving the office and going straight to an open mic somewhere in like the East Village or in Brooklyn. And it was like I knew there was a long period of overlap, and honestly there kind of still is. Like I've had points in the last few years where I've needed to just go get a regular day job. I feel like I'm still in that interim period where it's like making the long leap from having a day job to not having a day job.
And I think that is like that's a parallel with the golf trajectory too. Like you hear a lot of like not only mini tour guys, but even PGA Tour players, like anybody outside of the top 50, they're not like flying on private jets everywhere. Some of those guys
Yeah.
have to take like jobs in the off season. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they got to earn some money.
Yeah. You got guys on like the Corn Ferry Tour, the mini tour, who are like getting in vans together and driving from one event to the next. Like Sunday, one tournament, you get in the car to get to the next tour stop by Monday, and just keep living on the road for months and months at a time. And
Go ahead.
well, it's also crazy, like how you even start that journey. Like, so many guys have to like rely on some. It used to be, at least, that you have to rely on some like rich guy to sponsor you, and then he would take a big cut of your tour earnings once you turned pro. So it was like the financial barrier is pretty huge, entry fees and all that stuff. And in addition to just how expensive golf is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And like, but comedy, the one cool thing about comedy is there's not really any of that to start. Like comedy, you could just go to a place that has people.
Yeah.
I think there's, once you get into like the business side of things, maybe there are some, politics at play, but really, like, to start comedy, it's a little different. Like, you could just go to a place.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the number of people I saw at like my early open mics, and many open mics after, who were like just a crazy person talking into a microphone.
Yeah.
But there's zero barrier to entry. I mean, I guess you have to be in a place where an open mic or a comedy show happens. That's about it. So like, obviously New York is an expensive place to live, but in so many small towns in America, like, you can find a place to try to do it.
And there's no real open mic golf. Like, that would be, you wonder how many crazy people
it happens every week.
Yeah. Right. Just some, well, that's the equivalent of like the weekend warrior, right?
Yeah.
You have somebody kind of getting up there, and it kind of, you feel the same way about it. Like a weekend warrior, you're like, man, you're clogging up the course. Let people like me play. I love this sport. Right. And then at mics, you're like, you see somebody just there to like gripe about their, significant other, and they don't really want this. You're like, man, I could have gone up 5th. Now I'm going up 20th.
You and I have been at many open mics where there were some 36 handicaps getting up on stage.
Yeah.
Shanking it around.
There's been many nights I was one of those 36 handicaps.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. I've had some blow up holes. For sure.
Yeah. We could make these analogies all day. What's the goal? What's your, like, what do you want?
In comedy, it was like, when I first set out to do it, I thought, I want to work at the Comedy Cellar, and I want to write for TV during the day. Those were like really my only. It's not a crazy lofty goal, but it was like, oh, this is something I could do. And I pretty much accomplished both of those things. Like right before the quarantine hit, I had just started working at the Cellar. I'd been there for like 6 weeks, 2 months. And I was writing on a TV show that's not going forward now, but I was writing on it then. So it was like, okay, these things have been accomplished. Pretty cool. Time to come up with a new goal. I guess the goal is pretty much the same as other comics have, just to like tour, do big theaters, get big crowds, just be a full-time comedian, make that like your only job.
If people are listening to this that like don't really know the comedy landscape, or and they're kind of just golf fans or whatever, if anybody will listen to this, we don't know. There could be nobody that listens to this, but the Cellar, Comedy Cellar, is like, that's like the place, right? That's where, like, if you get in there, it's like you feel that's like a milestone in a comedian's career. It
feels like a brass ring for sure. Yeah,
exactly. Could you relate that to an experience in golf, to somebody not like a pro, but would that be like playing at, Pine Valley or something? Like what would the analogy be?
Yeah, I guess that would be a pretty good analogy, or like Augusta or something, one of those like insular, hard to penetrate elite places. But I guess the Cellar now, it's like, because it's a combination of, it'll be comics of like my level, and then all the way up to the biggest like legends in comedy. So I guess it would almost be like playing in the Masters, where someone like me is like the mid-am champion who got in, and then it goes all the way up to Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Like that, I've kind of considered it like, okay, I've gotten myself in the game. Let's see how long I can last. It's like,
Right.
how long I can stay on the court. You know?
Yep. And you hear all these stories a lot about, comedians getting bumped, or you go to the cellar and Chris Rock shows up. Do you have any personal stories where like a legend showed up that you were there?
I hadn't been there long enough to like get bumped yet by anyone like that. I did. I think the last time I was there, I was hanging out and like John Mulaney showed up, and he did a surprise drop in, and I was able to like go downstairs and actually watch him for 15 minutes or so. I'm a fan of his, so that was pretty cool. And then, but you'll see the run of the mill seller, like people who I really look up to. You'll see like Colin Quinn and Gary Goldman and people like that there all the time. Yeah. I think I did bump into Chris Rock before I did comedy there. I did bump into Chris Rock out in front of the cellar when he was on his way there, but I doubt he remembers that.
But then you said when you were at a PGA Tour event, it was like seeing these people up close, how skilled they are, and like it's like it wows you. What's the difference? Can you notice something when you see a comedian like that? We see a John Mulaney stroll in. Is there like, what's he doing different than the person that's not John Mulaney? I
think, and I've seen this with a few comics, like I've seen Chappelle drop in at different venues a couple of times over the years. There's a patience and a confidence to what they're doing that's different from like that separates the PGA golfer from the weekend golfer, or separates like the great comedian from the open micer, where like they make the audience adjust to their pace, their tone. They do what they're going to do. If they're a comedian who does like big theaters and big arenas, they go into a small club, they get on stage, and they treat it with the same energy that they would in like a huge room. Mm-hmm. It's just like you get the sense that they're in charge. Like that's what I was struck by when I saw Tiger, and when I saw PGA Tour pros for the first time. It's like if any of us went out there with a gallery of that size, we would lose our minds. We'd be like terrified of shanking one into an old lady against the ropes. And you watch these guys teeing it up, and you're like, wow, what if they screw it up like everyone else I've ever seen in this context?
Right.
And then they don't. They just stripe it. I was on the first tee at the PGA last year. Me and my dad just like posted up and watched 7 groups tee off, and all the tee shots were nearly identical. Like there was a dispersion of maybe 30, 40 yards or so, but we're watching these guys cut the dog leg on the first at Bethpage Black and just bomb it over the same little group of trees, where they're like you couldn't tell one drive apart from the others.
Yeah, that's
it's
insane.
Like, oh man.
Where it's like if for my golf game, if I step to the tee, like I literally have no idea. Like I know there could be a tree that I aim at, but I've never once hit where I'm aiming. Like I've never one time did it. So like, I don't know, like the whole gallery thing, it blows my mind. Like the fact that more people don't just get crushed by balls is insane to me.
Yeah. It's like it's big news every time it happens. Like every time Phil hits somebody and signs a glove for them. Yeah,
you have to like give them
on every hole.
Yeah, like you have to give them an autograph if you hit them. Like I don't like only be hitting people the whole time if they lined. But
I'd be using them as a backstop. I'd be shanking it. I'd be just blading wedges into the people standing behind the green.
Well, they said that, right? They were like, because they're playing golf right now and there is no fans. And I've listened to a couple of podcasts about, gameplay, how it's different. And they're like, well, I don't know what the golfers are going to do. They use TV towers as like for depth, and they use the crowd as depth for depth perception. They don't.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy is like, they'll literally be they'll aim at the lady in the blue shirt.
Yep.
And
the TV tower is usually a good target.
Yeah.
Behind the green.
Have you watched any of the PGA Tour stuff since they've been without, or any of the matches, like the Brady versus those matches?
Yep. Yeah, I watched both of those matches. those were great. I don't know if everyone liked them as much as I did, but I'm a big fan. I thought it was a really entertaining um, way to shoot golf,
Yeah.
and it's cool to have people mic'd up. Um, I've watched a couple of PGA Tour events. I think they're playing better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think so
Like,
too.
weren't the scores at Harbor Town were like ridiculously low,
Yeah.
lower than they've
Yeah.
ever been. Um, yeah, I guess you lose that navigational tool of like aiming at different people and TV. Like, golfers have said if they played St. Andrews without the TV towers, they wouldn't know where to hit it because it just looks like you're on the surface of the moon. But
Right.
um, yeah, it's interesting to see them without the galleries. It seems a little bit more intimate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
almost like you're out there with them. You hear the full conversation with the caddy. You hear Bryson yell at the cameraman. You
Yep.
hear uh, all of that like intimate detail stuff. It's pretty cool.
And you're like watching me, like, this is how I play, but this is what it would look like. There's nobody watching me. There's just like
Yeah.
me and the ball and the people I'm with, and it's
You know
kind
what
of
I always
cool.
thought? What was that?
No, it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. And it reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if you ever watched the Shell Wide World of Golf, like the old videos
Yeah.
from back in the day, where they would have, like Sam Snead and Ben Hogan at Pine Valley. I would love it if golf did more stuff like that, where they had, a small gallery or no gallery, have some of the elite golfers playing some of these courses that you don't normally see on TV. Like Seminole had never been on TV before.
Yeah.
And then they put it in the match. And there are, I think, a lot of places that maybe aren't conducive to having a huge PGA Tour event just because how they're laid out, but they would be great for, some TV event like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You hear about those. I mean, like a Pine Valley or these places
Cypress
that
or something.
yeah. There's a course by me, Saucon Valley, and like they host like a lot of the USGA stuff, but they could never put a PGA event because of logistics. Like, you can't park, there's no room for stuff, but it would be cool. Selfishly, it would be cool to know what like Rory would score there. Like Jordan Spieth's grandparents live here, so he plays it once a year.
Oh, cool.
So, but he's just messing around. So, but it's not real, like his real score. You know what I mean? Like, it would be cool to see what these guys would post if it mattered. Do you have any like ambition to combine the worlds, golf and comedy, like in any aspect?
Yeah, I've thought about that, like trying to figure out how those two interests intersect. I've done some writing, some work on like TV pilots that are set in the world of golf. I've thought about like, would it be it might be fun to have like a live action show with comedians on a golf course. I know like Nate Bargatze and Ron White are two huge golf guys.
Yeah.
Rich Voss too. A whole bunch of comedians are into it, but it would also be fun to like bring in people who are not familiar with the world of golf. And,
yeah. For
have
sure.
them set them loose to be funny.
Do you think like do a lot of like your comedian friends, are they into golf? Like, or is it something, do you think it's fewer and far between?
A handful of them are. I think people are actually getting into it more now with like quarantine and everything.
Yeah.
I talked to a couple people recently, some comic friends who were like trying to play golf, and that's cool. I would love it if I had like, a group of comedian friends who I could have a regular game with.
Right.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be sweet. Because you guys play pickup, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And pickup is so hard to do.
Yeah.
I just kid. I remember I lived in New York. People would be like, "Hey, man, everybody's playing pickup. Do you want to?" It's a great idea. I would love to do it, but
yeah,
I don't want to do it. I don't want to.
And I'm like naturally better at basketball than I am at golf, and even still, I'm like, I'd kind of rather just be chilling on the golf course right now.
Oh yeah. Just
sweating. It's a lot less strenuous. It's better on the knees.
For sure. When do you think you're going to be able to get out and play next?
Pretty soon. I was just working on a little writing project. Now that that's done, I think I'm going to get out to just like the Flushing pitch and putt, and maybe play some of the local munis around here.
Yeah, for sure.
or even go indoor. The city has a couple of places that I've been to. You worked at one of them, right? The indoor golf center or something like that.
New York Golf Center. It's a
Yeah,
retail store, but they do have
right.
simulators and stuff in there for sure.
Yeah, I've been to like 5-iron golf a couple
Five
of times
iron,
where
yep.
it's like, yeah, it's maybe not the best for like training. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to get like practice swings in and you can mess around. Oh, I'm playing Pebble Beach on a
Yeah,
simulator.
yeah.
Like,
Have you been
it's
to a
just
Top
fun.
Golf?
I've not been to a Top Golf. No,
I feel like
dying
that's the way to like break people into golf that are a little on the fence. You take them to a Top Golf
totally.
but I don't know if you'll ever get them out of the Top Golf scenario. I know you haven't been. It's like
Right.
it's barely golf. It's as little golf
Right.
as it can be, but it's still pretty
But
fun.
the hook is, I think, if you get people to get the satisfaction of hitting a good golf shot and just that sensory experience of like hitting one on the sweet spot, they're gonna a portion of those people are gonna be hooked and they're gonna want to chase that feeling somewhere else.
Do you think that? I mean, I know I keep saying I don't want to do this, but I continue to do it.
Do it.
Is there a comedy has the same thing, right? Like stand up, you could bomb. There's something like, I don't know how your first set went. My first set was bad, but there was something about it that like had that sweet spot feeling. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, I'm going to do this again, try it again, try it again. Do you think that have you had that experience with comedy as well?
I think my first set was one that felt good, and in hindsight, it was probably horrendous. I'd rather not think about how it actually went, but in the moment, I was like, "Oh, this is good." Oh, I just ripped one 330 down the middle. It's like how guys overestimate their distances.
Right.
Like that's exactly the experience I had.
Yeah.
And then there are those sweet spot moments, and it's like sometimes when you hit a great golf shot, it feels like you didn't try at all. You didn't exert any force, and it just went. It was like a well-oiled machine, and the shot hit itself for you. There are moments like that in comedy. Diamonds in the Rough plays through all these horrific bombings and brutal experiences, but they keep you coming back.
Yeah, that's a parallel for sure. What about stand up? I don't know what the landscape is in New York right now, if shows are happening or not happening. Do you want to get out on the road ASAP? Do you want to get back on stage ASAP? Are you doing sets?
I haven't done an in-person set anywhere. So what's happening is like there are a few outdoor shows that are popping up, which I think in the long run will actually be a good idea. I remember on a couple of trips to LA, they've done a good job of like putting together outdoor comedy shows in a way that it's not like embarrassing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not just out there standing on a truck with a microphone while passersby are looking at you like you're giving some kind of a manifesto. But I think New York will gradually figure out how to do that. I'm not like dying. I want to do stand up again. I do miss it. But I think what I miss is like how it was, and the way it was isn't going to be back for a while.
Yeah.
So I think I'll take what I can get at this point. I'll do like regional shows on the road and stuff, but it's just so hard to project like how the comedy landscape is going to look even 2 months from now.
Yeah, that's a little scary too. Like, I mean, there's no guarantees for any of this, right? Like it could be 2 years. Like the idea of trying to get somebody into a basement, to listen to people that they don't really know, try to be funny, seems like a tough sell right now.
Probably.
So that's kind of scary. But at the same time, it also seems like everybody wherever you were before the pandemic, you're like one step down. Like theater acts are now kind of in the clubs again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which is great for me because I was in nothing. Like, so I haven't lost a thing. But you feel for people that, like yourself, like we're on, like almost ready to not ever have to worry about a day job again. And then it's like, damn, like you got to figure this out again in this new weird world.
Well, I think I shudder to think about like the few way more successful comics that I know who were in the middle of enormous tours
Yeah.
And I don't even want to think about how much money they lost
Yeah.
canceling all these dates. I mean, for some of them, it's got to be six figures.
Right.
And it's, I was doing what I wanted to do. I'm glad I wasn't really taking it for granted. So like getting bumped down to doing no comedy or doing comedy over Zoom is like a palatable experience. I can deal with it. But yeah, I guess if I'm going to be demoted to, I'll hit the open mics. I'll go to all those terrible open mics that I hated. It's going to be like that Twilight Zone episode where the guy has all the books.
Yeah.
Before his glasses break, where he's like, "That was time now." Like, I'm going to be so grateful for those terrible comedy open mics.
True, that's the other thing. I would love to be. I'm not going to name names of venues but I would love to be at one of those mics, laid in the bucket. And that's the only thing that I was mad about. Right? If I knew now, right. If I knew then how weird the world would get, I would have appreciated going last at a bucket mic for sure.
Yeah.
How are you staying creative though? Are you able to, do you try to like work on some like personal creative stuff, like write a pilot or other
mostly
stuff?
Putting. Mostly, getting creative with putting stances. But no,
what are you going with, the claw? What do you got? What are you working with? Anything?
I was doing this overlap for a while. And now I'm doing this overlap. So that's creativity right there. Yeah. The tiger style overlapping the middle fingers.
Oh, well, what's the secret? What do you think? Because I'm always messing with I'm the worst putter maybe on earth today. So I've been trying stuff. What do you think? Why is that one working for you?
I think it angles my wrists in a way that takes the like forearms and stuff out of the equation a little bit better. And I'm just using like this armpit hinge to like make a straight back and through stroke.
Do you go big grip? Do you put a big grip on it?
I have like a medium big grip on my putter. It's not like one of the huge fat ones, but it's like a little bigger than normal.
Yeah. What about equipment wise? What do you got? You seem like you got some blades, man.
Okay, so I'm the only person in the world with these clubs. I've never seen anyone else. These came out a couple of years ago. It's the Callaway Rogue Pro.
Okay.
This one's a 7-iron. They're blade adjacent.
Yeah.
There's like no offset, but they're still cavity back. They're called a player's distance iron, which is not a category. It's complete marketing jargon.
Oh, dude. No
sense. Yeah. You must know well. You work.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's like lying to people. It's just lying.
This is a lie right here. This 7 is a lie. That is a 6-iron.
It's a 6-iron. Yeah.
It's 31 degrees. That is a 6-iron. So like I've learned to check my ego about my iron distances and just kind of embrace it. But I like them. I've got Callaway pretty much all through the bag. I got the Rogue driver. I have a Rogue 4-wood. I'm a 4-wood guy. And my favorite club is this Vokey lob wedge that doesn't even fit me.
It's too short.
It's too short, but it doesn't miss. I'm like hitting the flagstick from 55 yards all day. I was going to ask you, if you had one shot, gun to your head, is that the shot? Oh, I wonder. I mean, maybe these days, yeah. Historically, it would be a driver.
Really? That's a great thing to have in the, like, being able to hit the driver well.
Yeah. I remember younger days, even as far as like college and even after college, like if I had a driver in my hand, I was super confident that I was going to pipe one, which is like insane to me now. Yeah. But it'll come back, I guess. I'm working on it.
I would love that. I would love that. I'm the exact opposite. If I'm hitting a driver, all bets are off. I can't explain to you the feeling of unrest that I feel anytime that club is in my hands.
I was feeling confident over it at the end of last year, and when I played this year, like recently, I would stand over the ball for like 20 seconds before taking a swing. I was like, anything could happen now. I don't know.
You had the Chuck Barkley, like jitters.
Chuck Knobloch, more like it.
Yo, man. Well, dude, thanks for like taking some time and chatting with me. This was
anytime,
awesome,
man. I'd be happy to come back. Yeah,
for sure. We'll have you back, and we got to play golf. Let's get some,
totally.
A couple rounds in the. I think we'll be able to play golf. And if you ever come out to Pennsylvania, the fields are open out here. It's not necessarily Connecticut golf, but there's some decent tracks.
It's probably pretty similar.
Yeah, it is. A lot of municipal tracks, a lot of where I'm from, there's like a lot of golf in the immediate area. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool. So whenever you want to come out, we'll do this again. Dude, thanks so much. And I hope, things get back to normal sooner than later. And we can all do stand-up comedy once again. I guess that's lower on the priority list than some other things, but people need it.
Yeah,
man.
that's like phase 9, but we'll
yeah,
we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. JP, thanks a lot, man.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Talk to you. See ya.
Be good.